Okay, I just want to create another video here to um, kind of unify all of the types of percent problems that you can encounter. They usually have words in them, so you have to figure out which category that they fall in, but there are really just three types of percent problems that you can have. But all of them can be set up using one single formula, and it's based on understanding what percent means. If you don't know what percent means literally, look at the previous video in this playlist, um, and that will explain it. But anyway, every single percent problem can be determined using this formula. Everything can be written in using this formula. A something is, or thing 1 is some percent, thing 2% of thing 3. A is B percent of C. So the reason that you can have three different problems is because the unknown quantity can be the A, or the B, or the C. Any of those three could be what you don't know. But this formula can be translated mathematically. So we have words over here. We're going to translate this without any words at all. Okay? In the previous video, I showed you, I explained the significance of this percent symbol and what percent really means. So B percent really just means B divided by 100. That's what percent means. Per divided by cent 100. So B percent is B divided by 100. Is a verb. That mathematical verb translates as equals. Equals is one of the verbs in math. There are some other verbs like is greater than, the greater than symbol, or the is less than, the less than symbol. Those are other also verbs in math. Okay. Now, of C, you have to pause a moment to figure out how do we translate of C mathematically. And here I have something that will hopefully explain that. 50% of 30. Okay, we all know that that means half of 30. And we all know that half of 30 is 15, right? Okay, so the number we're talking about is 15. Well, if you have the numbers 30 and 1/2, or 50%, remember this is the same thing as 50%. But remember, over here we've written B percent as B divided by 100, or B 100ths. We've written this percent as a fraction. So how do I deal with that and B percent of C? Some percent of some number. Well, 50% of half of. 1/2 of 30 is 15. How do you get 1/2 and 30 to work together to make 15? There are only 4 operations that you can possibly use, either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Does 30 plus 1/2 equal 15? No. 30 minus 1/2 or 1/2 minus 30, either of those? No. 30 times 1/2? Yes. 30 times 1/2 equals 15. So that is 1/2 of. Now, since multiplication is commutative, you can multiply in either order. 1/2 of 30 can be written 1/2 times 30. That's 1/2 of 30. So how have we translated of? Times. In this situation, of translates as times. 1/2 of 30 is 1/2 times 30. So B 100ths of C simply means B 100ths times C. So we can translate what is 12% of 40. This time it's the A that's unknown. What number is 12%? 12% is 12. Remember, percent means divided by 100. 12% of 40. That translates to times 40. 12 is what percent of 40? In this problem, it's the percent. That's the unknown. What percent? Okay, well, 12, literal translation here, is what percent? Well, the question mark is the unknown is the percent. So what divided by 100? What number divided by 100? What percent of 40? And then finally, 12 is, this time it's the number that we have the percent of. That is the unknown. 12 is 40%, 40 divided by 100, of what? And we're going to solve all of these using a similar process. It's going to be algebra in disguise, actually. So let's take a look at the first one here. What number is 12% of 40? Well, this one we just multiply it out. 12 divided by 100 times 40. Well, 12 divided by 100, we could do 12 times 40 and then divide it by 100. Anyway, I'll leave the math up to you. It's the arithmetic up to you. It's fairly simple arithmetic. 12, and we could actually do some reducing here as well if you want to. But there are many different approaches to take to actually perform this multiplication. But this video is not about multiplication and division. It's about percents. So hopefully you realize that this number comes out to be 4.8. It's a different video entirely. If you need help with something else entirely, if you can't tell that 12 divided by 100 times 40 is 4.8. Now, this one is a little less straightforward because the unknown number is over here, and so we're going to have to perform some algebra in disguise. What we do is we start with this unknown quantity. Now, this unknown quantity is being divided by 100. So we divide that unknown quantity by 100. And then what do we do? To that, we multiply that by 40. And in algebra, I know this is not an algebra video, but some people in algebra might need this video. You wouldn't use that symbol for multiplication in algebra because in algebra you use variables, you use letters, x, y, and z. X is the most common letter used in algebra, and that would look like an X. But for now, I'll just use that simple symbol because there might be some people watching this video that aren't familiar with other notations for multiplication. All right, so after we take this unknown quantity and divide by 100 and multiply by 40, the result of doing all that, the result is 12. But I want to figure out what I started with. So let's just undo these two operations that happened. We can undo that times 40. What's the opposite of multiplying by 40? It's dividing by 40. And then we can undo that divided by 100 by multiplying by 100. So this number is, we're going to start with 12 and work our way back. We've got 12, we've got 12, and I'll try to keep the color coordination going here. 12 divided by 40 times 100. And now I'll use blue since that's what the unknown number is colored. Well, 12 times 100 is 1200 divided by 40. Again, if the arithmetic is giving you trouble, that's something else. That's another problem, but that equals 30. And then finally, the third scenario that you could possibly come up with where the number that you want, oh, by the way, so the number that we're looking for, 30, that means that 12 is 30%. What percent of 40 is that 12? It's 30% of 40. 30% of 40. And it's horrible of me to have not reminded that before you even start solving a problem like this, you should have an estimate about the percentages. 12 is, well, it's about a third of 40, a little bit less than a third. So hopefully you have an idea if a third is 33 and a third percent. So you're in the ballpark, a little bit less than 33 and a third percent. 30% it's logical. And then back here, 12% of 40. Well, what 10% of 40 would be a tenth of it. 10% of 40 would be 4. So 12% of 40 is going to be a little bit bigger than 4. Reason, give an estimate, find an estimate of your answer before you actually do the problem. Now, 12 is 40% of what number? What number is 12 40% of? Okay. Well, 12 is 50% of 24. So the number that 12 is 40% of would be a little bit bigger than 24, because 40% is less than half. So 12 is a little less than half of what number? So it's going to be a little bit more than twice as big as 12. The answer is going to be a little bit more than twice as big as 12. So let's take a look at this like we did the last one. If we start with this unknown number, and what operations are taking place with this unknown number? Well, it's getting multiplied by 41/100ths. So it's getting multiplied by 40, and then it's getting divided by 100. And the result of doing all that, again, is 12, like it was in the last problem. So to undo that divided by 100, we multiply by 100. And to undo that times 40, we divide by 40. So our unknown number is going to be 12 times 100, and then divided by 40, which again, as in the last problem, it equals 30. So what number is 12 40% of? 12 is 40% of 30. Okay, so that's how you can approach every single percent problem from the same initial starting point. Every single one of them can be set up as some number is some percent of something else, and structure it this way and figure out whichever value is unknown. You can deduce the unknown value from the two known values using this algebra in disguise process. I hope that helps.